Hello, Mamta. This is Susan. I'm going to give you that promised tour of my studio. This area that you're looking at now is the office that I work in. I don't know if you can make out all this information that's going on here, but that table that you see in the back with all that paraphernalia on it, that's a real mess. That's my matting and framing table, and you can see there's a lot of work there and frames leaning against it. I have an area next to it or adjacent to it that's actually a storage area or a closet. You can see that there. It has a lot of vertical and horizontal storage for all my canvases that have been painted on, as well as ones that are awaiting paint or painting. Here's a bulletin board with all my awards. Let's see if I can zoom out. There we go. That'll give you a little bit of a better view. Not too many recent ones on there, but I haven't been entering competitions. Here's the cockpit. This is from the area from where we talk all the time on our Skype calls. And of course that's a shelf with a lot of stuff on it that I use in my paintings. I have my print bin here with prints, various prints that I've produced over the years of my work. I have another area here which is all vertical storage, and then my horizontal storage underneath it. And that goes into the house another time for that. Let's see, I have a big cabinet. You really can't see a lot in this area because, well, let's see if I can get this to work. Yeah, a little light on the subject. I have a couple of still life shelves here with shelves of all kinds of things that I can paint from. I collect them as I go along. If I think I see something that I would like to paint, I'll usually buy it. And it goes in here on the shelves. My students can also choose from many of the things in here. You can see I have some plaster casts. A lot of those, actually. Most of them are in the studio right now. They're being employed by artists, my students. Excuse me, I have a cold. As you know, there are the shelves that I keep things on. And something that you didn't know, I am writing a book. Of course, it has nothing to do with art, but it's something that I do just for the fun of it. It's a science fiction book, actually. And this is sort of my chapter outlines that I have going here so that I know where I am in the book at all times. Okay, now let's go into the studio. We actually built this area a few years ago when the other area that we were just in, that used to actually be my studio. It was a lot emptier then, but still pretty packed. And one of my students said to me, "What are you waiting for? Why don't you build that studio you've always wanted?" So I said, "Well, yeah, why don't I?" So I did. Okay, let's see. I'm going to back away here. This is the door I just walked through. That's the office again in there. And this little corner here, this is where I do my drawings. It's a mess at the moment, of course, because the studio is always a mess, because I'm always in the middle of something. Rarely gets completely cleaned. It's an area that I sit in when I need to work out a drawing that I'm not using the easel for. Most of my drawing I do on the easel. Let's see, if we turn around, we have a window right near it, as you can see. And then here is a bookcase. And this has a lot of books. The top shelf is all my personal stuff. But then I've got a shelf of magazines going down, and then the third shelf is all our books that we use in class for life drawing. Lots of those. Life drawing and perspective and lessons that I've taught, and lessons from other artists. And you can see the next shelf going down would be art books on various different subjects, from landscape to still life. And then towards the bottom, more magazines, and on the very bottom we have those books that nobody can do without, known as coffee table books, because they're huge. And how much time do we actually spend reading those things? But we do like to look through them. So those are there. And let's see, a lot of stuff in my studio. This here, turning around, I've just done an about face, the window's to my back now. This is my work table. I have a bad back, so everything in my studio is built to a height from the matting table in the other room to this work table in here that allows me to work at it without having to bend over, which is very bad for my back. And as a result, I can work at it for quite a long time. We have, let's see, we have a saw here, a chop saw that I use for making cradles for my artwork. Well, that's something I'll talk about in the future with you. And then I'm going to start moving around the room. So you can see it's really a very wide open space normally. It's quite large. It's about, I don't know what this would be in meters, but it's about 30 feet long by about 22 feet wide, which is a substantial size. In the corner over there, we have a bunch of setups. You can see they're on old hospital trays. You can see them. They all roll about. And on the floor, if you look carefully, you'll see down there we have tape marks everywhere on my floor. And that's to mark off where people's easels go and where their setups go. Now, as we move around, we have on the back wall some older artwork. All my new stuff's at the gallery these days. And then over there in the corner is George. George is our resident skeleton. And I'll get you a close-up on George. There's George. Let's see. More student setups, casts in the corner. As we move around, I'm going to switch over real quick. This side here is the door to the studio, as you can see. And right next to it is a table, or a bunch of stuff leaning against the wall tables that we use for various projects in the classroom. And here, these are, this is just a table with tea and other things on it for the convenience of my guests and students. And then on the wall, a variety of different drawings and so forth that students can learn from. Going across the top, you can see more up there. Let's see if we can get a little closer. Yeah, there we go. So that's some of the work that I did when I was in school, but they're helpful things for my students to see. So we have those, and you can see there's a teaching screen there, and just here on the ceiling is, let's see if I can find it. Where in the heck is it? Oh, there it is. That's my projector. There it is, see it? And that projects onto the screen in the background there. So my students can see videos that we sometimes watch either from YouTube or ones that I've rented as teaching adjuncts, which are really helpful. Now, you may ask yourself, where do you paint, Susan? Here's more student setup, you see, going around. Some work that I've been working on, paintings that are drying on various and sundry easels. Well, this right here is where I paint. This is actually the area that I work in. There is a large window back here that's about 7 feet tall by about 5 feet wide. I have a big computer screen sitting here. As I get closer, you may be able to see that. I've got 2 chairs here. The red one is for my cats, who like to keep me company, and that's the only way to keep them from being a real pest, is to put them on that chair, and then they'll leave me alone. And as you can see, I'm getting ready to do a painting now. I've got a setup going. I've got my easel, and I've already done an ébauche, which is a kind of underpainting, which I'll talk about at another time. There's my setup with my palette. As you can see, it's an old music stand, and on it I have a piece of glass. You can see how reflective that is. And all the colors on my palette. So right now I have lead white, Naples yellow, lead tin yellow, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow deep, or medium, I think that's cadmium yellow medium, which I don't usually have on my palette, but I need for this painting. Cadmium red light, an alizarin crimson that I have mixed myself, a burnt sienna, raw umber, that's the raw umber right there, ultramarine blue, and have Prussian blue now on my tablet because right there on that setup is a kind of a wonderful bluish green aqua that you can't get with ultramarine blue, so I needed some Prussian for that. And let's see, and then next to that would be, just below it is black, because I sort of ran out of room. Should have moved all my paints over a little to the left. So anytime I sit down to paint, I make sure that my palette is clean and ready to mix. And oftentimes I'll clean it in the middle of a painting, in the middle of my work, so that I don't end up with muddy color. And as I explained to you in our last video call, in our first video call, this is the best way to work because on a glass palette, because you can clean it so easily. And cleanup is a snap. I don't know what else to say about that. This is my new old easel, new to me, old to anybody else or its former owner. But I purchased it for only a few $100s because it's a crank easel, and the one that I wanted was about $1,000, but it was more important that I get the crank easel and get started because my old easel was giving me shoulder problems from lifting up large paintings on it and having to move them around. This makes it a lot easier because just with the turn of the crank, I'm able to raise the painting up or down as needed. I have a brand new light, as you can see up here. It's quite large. The hard part is getting it not to shine on my subject matter in the corner over there. But it's wonderful. It lights my painting up just enough. I can turn it up or turn it down depending on how much light I need, and it lights the whole thing evenly, which is great because most don't. They're either usually too strong on the top and fading off to the bottom, or they're too warm and hot toward the top, getting cool toward the bottom. So this is a great advantage. And that's it. That's pretty much the whole studio in a nutshell. I have a tabaret here that, as you can see, is just an old tool chest, a Craftsman tool chest. I have a lot of paint on top, but I also have a lot of paint inside, as you can see. No shortage of paint around this house. And this is my work table that I have spread out next to it so that while I'm working I can reach my brushes and other things quite easily. I keep my thinner here in a little drawer that sits on the side of the easel. That's it right there. And that's about it. For a medium on today's painting that I'm going to be working on, I'm probably just going to be using a little bit of liquid and some linseed oil. If I need a thicker stroke, or I need something a little meatier, I can always add something else, but for the time being, this will do just fine. I'm getting to the point in my career where I use less and less medium unless I'm in a hurry to have something dry the next day. I think that's it. So here it is, looking back over the whole studio, which looks like a real mess right now, but I promise you, this is pretty clean. In the corner there, which you can't really see behind all those easels, is a big light table, and behind it, which you also cannot see really well, is a model stand, which we use for our models here in class that come in on Wednesday mornings. And we set them up here in the corner, which behind these big panels that you see, these pro panels. I stretch these panels out, and like a big accordion, they cover the whole corner here, and then the model stand goes in front of it. It works great. My students love it. It's the best part of the week for many of them. It is for me too. I really love teaching. So that's it. And I hope you enjoyed this little tour. I'll be doing another video simply for the pleasure of showing you how I paint.